Welcome to GLP's 10 out of 10, and today we have with us Iggy Rosenberg. Iggy, or Ignacio to use his full name, hails from Buenos Aires, Argentina. Currently lives in the state of Utah. Everybody knows him as Iggy, so I'm guessing that Ignacio is just reserved for when he's in trouble with his mum. So, Iggy's been working in lighting and visual design for more than 20 years and holds the position of Director of Business Development at the internationally renowned lighting design firm, LightSwitch. Before joining LightSwitch, Iggy designed and executed large touring shows around the world for a wide range of artists, including Leppard, Janet Jackson, and the Rolling Stones in Cuba, as well as numerous corporate shows. In his time at LightSwitch, Iggy has worked on such far-ranging projects as immersive environmental experiences in Singapore, cruise ship projects in India, as well as numerous large corporate events in the US and around the world. And more recently was part of the team in Saudi Arabia to help bring to life the launch of Ad Diriyah, the birthplace of Saudi Arabia and the UNESCO World Heritage Site. Iggy is a huge technology advocate, always looking for new tools and ideas, as long as they serve the design intent. But he does couple that by saying, if I learned anything when in Argentina, it was to be conscious of budgets and maximizing the potential of what resources are available. Iggy sums up his approach to any project by saying, I really believe in putting in the hard work to make sure they get the best solution that money can buy. And if that means going above and beyond in search of excellence, then so be it. Well, that's a brilliant attitude, Iggy. It's great to have you here. Welcome.
Sure, I'm gonna bring you with me everywhere to just do my intros.
That's right. Excuse me. Presenting the way, ladies and gentlemen.
Yeah, there you go. Who's this? Mark, do your thing. Come on.
That's right. That's right. Tell everybody who's here. We're going to start programming, right? So, right. Well,
white gloves, please.
Let's dig straight into it, Iggy. So, obviously, a long and illustrious career so far. What was your first show as a designer?
That was in high school. I was very lucky that my high school had, well, not really a theater program. We just did a show a year. We had a very good director. We would do like Les Mis and the Phantom of the Opera, stuff like that as a high school. And that's how I started. My first gig was the middle school show. Didn't have anyone designing it, so they were like, "Oh, you like to do this lighting stuff?" So they just gave it to me.
Right.
Parkins, very old Parkins, the theater. It was great.
That's brilliant. That's brilliant. Starting there, it's always great when you can start there and have good collaborators right from early on in your career. That's
yeah, totally. You know, it's a theme of people taking chances on me.
Right.
You know, like starting back there and all the way to like getting into the US and even LightSwitch. It's you know, that's kind of what gets you places. Somebody has to you stick your neck out and hopefully someone, you know, pulls it in and doesn't just chop it off.
Right. That's true. I think that's true from anybody. Connections and making friends and networking all the way through. So,
yeah. Absolutely.
So for all of those shows, you know, I think everyone's got a little story about, you know, how it might have just gone horribly wrong one time. What's the kind of, not necessarily to name names, you can change the names to protect the innocent, but is there ever like one of these, you know, spinal tap moments for you when everything was designed and then it turned up and it literally was just a foot in diameter when it should have been 10 foot?
Well, we've had I mean, of that story, I remember having a drum kit that was built in this gigantic hydraulic, looked like the front of a train, and it was 8 feet wide and it weighed 2,800 pounds, some ridiculous number. And we got into a venue and you know, stations got around the drum kit and pushed it in, and the thing just went thunk and just got stuck, and we didn't understand why. And then we realized it was the only venue in the world that had a door that was 7 feet 11 inches. We just wouldn't get in, so we had to like put in a forklift with all the sturdiest union people we could find in the back of the forklift to counterweight it and slump it down the stairs of the venue. That was the closest to that. But yeah, we tons of stories of things, you know, catching on fire in the rig on the day off and that kind of stuff. But actually, my first gig, the first design job, my school, we just ran a DMX cable up the side of the aisle, and at some point in the middle of the show, we lost all data. Like just all the lights went black, and we didn't understand what was happening. And we just thought that the little DMX adapter, the 523 in the back of the board was going bad, because every time I moved it, it would just come on. And we were just tearing cables apart in the middle of the show. Like, we're trying to figure out how to make the thing work. And it turned out that somebody had put their chair on top of that one DMX line and had sort of kind of crushed it. And every time they were wiggling their chair, it happened to coincide with me moving the adapter. So the lights would turn on. So we would just leave it. And the guy would like shift in the chair. The lights would turn off again. And this went on for like, 25 minutes until somebody went like, we're just going to run a new cable. And that's how we kept the show happening. But yeah, it was so weird. I'm like, why is this? Yeah, it happens. It's a fun part. That's what teaches you to adapt when things go terribly wrong. That's trial by fire.
Yeah, that's right. Troubleshooting at the worst time.
Yeah.
Sounds like good audience interaction though.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Great. Yeah. Either that or he was falling asleep. I don't know. He was nodding off.
Okay. So our next question: what's the best advice that anyone has ever given you?
That is a great question. It probably does not come from entertainment. We read a lot here at home and have a lot of mentoring and coaching groups and that kind of stuff. But I think setting big goals has been kind of a revelation lately. I've always been this is where I'm at. I'm gonna set this goal kind of matches where I'm at, instead of set this goals that are 10 times as big as you think they can be. And funny enough, it tends to work out pretty well. It tends to be very intimidating at first, but then when you start breaking down how you can get to that goal, it tends to be much more attainable. So it's been a big thing for us. It's been a big revelation in the household, and it's worked out. It's worked out great.
Right. That's cool. That's great. And it, like you say, it doesn't always have to be something from early on in your career. It's we're learning new stuff every day.
Oh, yeah. I mean, listen, like my first job in the U.S. was with upstaging, and one of the first things that HUD told me when he hired me was, look down, do your work, and work hard. And to this day, it's still, I'm sure at some point I became that nagging voice in the back of the company, and I'm sure that I've rubbed people a few different ways. But yeah, I mean, work hard. I mean, to this day, there's a lot of things that I like to strategize around and be very efficient. But sometimes you just have to look down and work hard and get dirty, and that's how a lot of times how great things are built.
Right. That's true. Absolutely. So out of all of the different shows and the things that you've worked on, what's your proudest achievement so far?
That is a bit of there's different levels of pride, maybe. There's different things you're proud of. From like, hey, I finally made it. I definitely did the show that we did last year in Saudi Arabia, because it was just so monumental. And it had such an impact to UNESCO and the people of Saudi. And I know that's been a bit of a contentious thing, but we met the people that live there. We've done a few events there, and they were so proud that was getting honored. And it was great to meet them. And kind of in the same thing when we did the things with Rolling Stones in Cuba. The day after the show, a lot of the Cuban people would come up to us and thank us for being there. And it was so odd, because to me, I was the number 5 guy in the lighting crew or whatever. Like, I wasn't, but it was so good to see that they were it had such an impact on the people. At a personal level, it was joining the Paul McCartney tour, because my mother has a history with going to see Paul. The first time I ever stayed home alone was because McCartney was in Argentina, and my mom was gonna go see the concert. Right. So to get all the way to like being able to have her come to the show and sit in the 3rd row, and I'm part of that was such a cool sort of closing of a giant circle in my life.
That's amazing.
It was pretty cool. Yeah.
We do get the chance for some fantastic opportunities once in a while.
Very cool opportunity. Yeah. Totally.
Little dreams come true.
Yeah.
So between all of those shows, what do you do in your downtime?
Well, currently we sit in our sweats and drink a lot of wine. No, no, moving to Utah has been a very odd thing. It was the last place I would ever thought I would move to. And it's worked great. We have a ton of things to do. We go hiking a lot. Obviously, we have a ton of space here. We started quarantine cooking a lot, and then realized that we were eating like it was just too much. So we cooled it down on the cooking a bit. But I'm pretty big in Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu, and the gym's opened up here again. So I've been basically being in the gym every day. I'm covered in bruises underneath the sweatshirt. But that's, and my wife is into it as well. So I dragged her in at the beginning of the year. So that's kind of what we do. We have that in common in the house, and it's good. It takes up a bit of our time.
Excellent. It's always good to have some nice kind of hobby that is completely different that you can de-stress.
Yeah, we read a lot at home. We do a lot of like goal setting and that kind of stuff. But yeah, the physical side is obviously it's very different because she's a dancer and I'm not by any means.
No?
Yeah, I know. You think that with my spry feet I would be, but I'm not. But it's good, and it's a very cerebral sport. It's an idea of constantly getting out of trouble, putting yourself in weird positions and weird situations, and how do you think about it and not panic? Because the moment you panic, you're gonna pass out.
Right.
So it works very well for us as being something that's physically active, but also very cerebral.
Right. That's great. So going back to work then. So of all of it, you've traveled around the world. Obviously, you've lived different places around the world. If there is one, what's your most favorite venue to have done a show?
I don't think I'm probably, I would say almost surely not the only person in the entertainment world to say this, but I'm a big fan of Japan. I lived in Japan for a year. I love Japan. I love the culture. I kept telling people that if I ever get kidnapped and put in a knapsack and thrown in an intersection somewhere, and all I can do is just like open this knapsack and see like the curb of a street, and I could go, I'm in Japan. I recognize the streets in that place. Like there's something so unique about that place. But I lived in Chicago for many years, and I love Chicago. But honestly, Salt Lake City has been a very surprising discovery. We live at the base of the mountains and next to the temple, which is now getting torn apart. But it's been great. We've had incredible weather and a lot of nature. And I never thought I wanted to live in the mountains until I moved here. And now I could never imagine going back to somewhere as flat as Illinois.
Right. Wow. That's, I guess, like you say, you don't know until you try it. And then once you try it.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, that's excellent. So obviously we're in the middle of this lockdown in various different stages at the moment. So we were wondering, whilst you're during a lockdown, and if a bit of a desert island question as well, I guess. So is there one musical artist or one musical album that you would just absolutely have to have with you? What's the first one you'd save, for example?
That's a very good question. I was not really. I think we go through a lot of music at home, so it's tough. This is going to be a bit of a weird thing, but there's a TV show called Bosch. It's a detective show, and the whole show is based around jazz. And somebody compiled on iTunes a list of all the jazz songs through 6 seasons of the show. And I think that would probably be the thing, because it's like 4 hours of music and it's all amazing. So I think I would perhaps go with that playlist. It's just 4 hours of jazz.
Perfect. That's great. Jazz. Yeah. Jazz. Nice. Always nice and relaxing, I think. Very gentle.
Yeah. We cook to it at home. So it delineates a lot of the soundtrack of my life in very odd places. You think it'd be more rock and roll, but it's not.
That's excellent. Looking back, if you look back towards the teenage Iggy, and you could give him one piece of advice after all these years, what would that be?
There would be two, and they're kind of interrelated. But I never really had a problem with the working hard because I've always loved this industry. But learning more, learning about more things than just what's directly in front of you. Like, you know, we started doing stuff in real estate a couple of years ago with Randy, and I wish I had known that earlier. I wish I had learned about money earlier. I wish I had learned about nutrition earlier, you know, all that kind of stuff, instead of spending my nights in college learning the manual for the whole hog too, which, you know, as you do. And I think the other thing coming kind of related to that is to like be more careful with money. I think, and I've talked a lot about this because we have all these coachings, and we do like to teach a lot. So I talk to a lot of young kids that want to know, and it's like I was getting paid so much money touring the world, and I could not tell you what I did with that money. I couldn't. I just have no idea what I bought. I'm like, I don't know. I maybe I own something somewhere. I have no idea. You know, but being able to learn, it's fun. Like everything we do on a day in and day out basis is about troubleshooting and problem solving, and how do we get this stuff into this room in 4 hours, and you know, and I've learned to appreciate the business side once I learned to reframe it into that perspective of it's still a problem that we need to solve. It still has creative options. There's still ways to learn about it that isn't you have to put on a suit and become a CPA and be stuck in an office all day. There's other ways around it, and it took me a while to learn it, and it took me getting close to the brink of I have no money in my bank account to go. I never want to be in this position again.
Right. That's scary when it gets that close.
Absolutely, yeah. But it's part. I mean, at the same time, you kind of go like, does that come with growing up? Do you just have to go through those motions to learn? You know, I don't know.
Great. Yeah, I think I think so. I think so. You know, everybody, you've got to learn through experience so many times, and that's one of the experiences. Yeah.
Yeah, I think the teenage me would be like, get out of here. I have cake. I don't want to listen to it. I have no idea.
Right.
Like, I could tell him whatever I want. I don't think he would listen, but that's another story.
Okay, so our next question: if you were able to sit down with any one person, living or dead, and sit down and have a cup of coffee with them, or a glass of whiskey, or you know, smoke a cigar, who would it be?
I'm a big fan of Ray Dalio. I like. I'm not a good investor in that respect. Like, I will never be a fund manager, nor do I understand basically anything. But I like his idea. I kind of devoured his Principles book. His idea of people that can see the world in such a much bigger picture.
Mm-hmm.
And I struggle to understand not only how to do it, but how do you even get to that point? You know, of being able to see, oh, you know, I like he talks about researching, I don't know, inflation rates back in the 1800s and how that correlates with nature. And you go like, how do you get to that point of being able to see things at that macro of a level to then affect them at such a micro level? And then, you know, he's one of those guys that you think you would be the guy in the suit in a room, but the guy does meditation, and like, I just find people that can do that and that aren't, you know, corralled into a specific stereotype very interesting.
Right. Yeah. No, definitely an interesting character for sure. Yeah. Like you say, to be able to have that global, well, not global, but you know, but such a wide perspective on everything and how it all, trying to find the correlation and the patterns.
Yeah. Even to these days, like, you know, you think of people, you know, like Steve Jobs, the same thing. You think he was just an engineer, but he wasn't really a designer, and he wasn't really a business guy, and he was this vegan hippie guy growing up, and like, you know, he had all these personal problems that he carried with him, and like it's so much more interesting to me than, okay, you made a lot of money because you created this thing, and that's great, but you know, like, it's just conflicted personalities are very interesting.
Yes. Yeah. That's true. All right, time for the final question then. So you get a phone call from your country's Olympic team, and it could be either the summer or the winter Olympic team, right? And they say, right, Iggy, we picked you. Which sport have they picked you for? What's the sport you'd love to try in the Olympics?
I don't think jiu-jitsu is an Olympic sport yet, and I think I probably lose in the first 3 seconds of it. You know, I'm gonna have to pander a bit to my past, but we breed horses in Argentina. My family does, for jumping and dressage. I can ride a horse. I can't jump a horse. But I think it would make my father very proud if I was to be the one that was the one kid that didn't do it, right? I was the black sheep of the family in that respect. So I'd probably be like, I'll get on that horse and jump over the fences.
Right.
Because I think anything else that you give me, I'll probably get injured. Like, I'd love to try to throw a javelin. I'd probably skewer myself somehow. Like, it just. I don't think that's a good idea. Don't give me tools. Don't give me anything sharp or that gets you. Yeah.
Right.
Don't give me anything that can injure myself. But yeah.
You're right.
If I fall off the horse, I fall off the horse. That's fine.
Then it's just you. It's just you. That's fine. Yeah.
It's just me. Yeah. The horse will be fine. Yeah.
Yeah. It's horses know how to get rid of somebody off their back. That would be cool. That I'd like to see. I would. I'd tune in and watch that for sure.
Yeah, watch me fall off the horse. Yeah, I'm sure.
Right. Yeah.
I think if we get a call from my country's Olympic and they're gonna go. You've been nominated, but you have to pay for it, because I don't think Argentina has any money to do an Olympics. But yeah, that'd be fun. I mean, that'd be fun to be. I'd probably get very stage shy.
Right. That could be very cool.
Yeah.
Iggy, thank you so much. I appreciate your time. I'm sure you'll be running off to the next jiu-jitsu class. So
yeah, actually I will. Yeah, in about an hour. Yeah.
If you've got any space for bruises left. So thanks very much. Wish, obviously, continued good fortune with everybody at Light Switch, and I look forward to catching up with you in person soon.